Hello and welcome back to Popcorn Chat. I hope you guys are doing well. As you can see, I'm in a different part of my room and I've also got some lights, so hopefully that's going to make the quality a little bit better on this new channel. So this week we're going to be talking about Netflix's latest release, His House. It was written and directed by Remi Weekes and it stars Wunmi Mosaku and Shope Dirisu. Hopefully I've pronounced their names correctly. And they play a young couple who have fled war-torn South Sudan and they sort of seek refuge within England, and they are then sort of with the first act they're then put out into the world of England. It's not disclosed exactly where, and they are put into this community and given their own house, and within that they then have to sort of deal with this supernatural spiritual element that's going on in their house. One of the more outstanding scenes for me was when we see Rial sort of looking around the estate. She's looking for a specific road and she comes across these three young black boys and she says, "Can I have some directions to this road?" And that's when we sort of start to see this sort of racism come out, and we see these young lads sort of say, you know, they don't understand what she's saying, and you know, I speak British, we are English. So I thought it was really interesting that Weekes made this decision to highlight sort of colorism and racism of black people on black people, and I'd not really seen that much in film, so I thought this was a really bold move from the director. I genuinely thought this film was pretty scary. It gets you really early on with those jump scares, and then as we start to see these characters more, we sort of see their sort of the designs of their faces, and some of them even wearing masks. I think they were really terrifying. It hits all those horror tropes, you know, you've got the jump scare element, you've got the character design. You don't even see the sort of the demonic presence a lot of the time. Sometimes it's just a voice, and that can be just as terrifying. And the breathing and the eyes through the wall, that was really, really creepy. I thought it was really interesting the way in which Remi Weekes depicts the sort of the housing system and the council and what they can do for this recently moved here refugee couple. And I think it was really interesting because they could have picked Matt Smith's character, who is their sort of housing officer, could have been the sort of villain. You know, you have the villain of, you know, this demonic witchcraft sort of monster, and then you have, you know, the housing system. His character was the only real character that sort of showed any sort of empathy towards this young couple. He sort of, you know, he understood their situation. They said to him, "Yeah, I've got a witch," and at the end he's like, "Oh, did you get rid of that witch?" I thought that was a really sort of funny bit, like they've acknowledged it. You know, other people might have interpreted, "Oh, okay, that's interesting, you know, what they go on about," but he understands their situation a little bit better than most people. What I really liked about the sort of the first act of this film was the contrast between the two characters. We have Bol, who is a bit more adventurous in sort of engaging with the English society, and he goes out to the shops. I think it's Poundland even specifically, again sort of showing the class system there. So then he's walking home with the shopping and we see the church, and this is obviously an indication of his religious beliefs, and he's called in and he sort of gets taken into the sort of community centre where he is amongst sort of these other sort of white middle-aged men, and the football's on the TV and they start chanting. I think it's Peter Crouch, it must be an England game or Stoke or something, and he's joining in, and they sort of turn to him, and it could have, you know, taken a different turn, but you can see this sort of community already starting to build here. He doesn't really know what he's saying probably, or the relevance of the player. This is contrasted with his wife's sort of belief within the sort of the cultural element of this, and we see when he comes home, I think it's from the same evening, and she's prepared dinner on the floor, you know, very sort of traditional, and where you would normally eat with your hands, and then he goes and gets cutlery. And obviously he doesn't use the cutlery very well, but he's willing to use that, and she's a bit more hesitant to use the cutlery, and she even says, you know, she can just taste the metal. Sort of shows how one character is really willing to integrate within society and, you know, have the best of both worlds, whereas the other character is a bit more hesitant in joining sort of this society. Overall, I think this one was a real eye-opening experience. It was able to put me into the position of a refugee and have a small glimpse into what it must be like to leave your war-torn country and flee to somewhere like England. So it was a bit of an insight. Obviously I can't fully understand that, I won't understand that, but it was able to give me a much better understanding of that situation. I thought the performances in this film were great, even though the cast wasn't massive. I think the performances from the main cast were brilliant, and I think it really highlights sort of the young British actors we have coming up through the ranks. The only downfall I have with this film is I think it sort of lost me in the last act of the film. It didn't really have the satisfying ending I think it should have had for some characters. You know, I would have ended it a little bit differently, so that's why it doesn't get full marks for me. I'm going to give His House 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this film and I can't stop thinking about it since I watched it on Wednesday, I think it was. And I really want to just encourage other people to watch it. I'm like, have you seen this film? Have you seen this film? I think it's so, you could read it on so many levels. I'm just trying to push and make sure that loads of people see this film because I want to hear what people think about it. So if you've seen this film, let me know what you thought of it in the comments. If you've not, have I inspired you? I hope I haven't given too many spoilers away. So let me know if you've seen this film and hopefully you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. No, not everyone did when I did a poll on Instagram, but hopefully there's some of you out there that really enjoyed it, just like myself. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll be back with you again next week for another popcorn chat.